Hey y'all, so before I get into the main topic of this video, I have some bad news. If you remember my last video, I was talking about some issues that I was having with the fish. Jojo had bacterial dropsy, Spike kept getting rocks stuck in his mouth, Beauty got stuck in cave ornament, Josephine was majorly stressed out because of night. Jojo recovered fine. She's back in her tank and she's doing very, very well. And I was extremely lucky to able to heal her, and which that was amazing. Spike stopped picking up rocks, and so he's doing fine. Josephine is in a tank without night now, and it's doing fantastic. So, however, Beauty, when she got stuck, seemed to have re-injured her swim bladder and done what I suspect was, I don't really know if she ruptured it or I don't really know what she did, but she injured it pretty significantly, and she already had swim bladder since birth, but it was very, very minor. And so last week I started noticing that she was spending most of her time upside down, and I ended up Friday moving her into one of the totes behind me there, and just to kind of lower the water level and decrease the pressure on her swim bladder. And I also added some Epsom salt, air pump, air stone, and Saturday she was worsening. I held her food to see if maybe there was some kind of constipational issue. There was not. I ended up feeding her just a little bit of peas just to see, and it did nothing. Sunday, she became lethargic and she didn't want to eat and she refused food. She continued to worsen, and I was actually in here with her, and my mother came by to see what I was doing, and she looked at Beauty and asked me, "What are you doing? You're just making this fish suffer. It's selfish of you to keep her alive when she's in this much pain." That clicked with me. Something's got to give. I can't. It was becoming, it was coming to the point where I was going to have to make a decision, and I really did not want to. Beauty was she was so special. I don't know. You just have those fish that you're more attached to than others, and she was one of them. And I made the decision to euthanize her, and that was not easily done for me. I had euthanized one other fish, and for the same reason, and it never gets easier, and it's one of the worst things I think I've ever done. But I'm satisfied with how I ended her suffering. She went very quickly, and she wasn't in any more pain, and I actually buried her in my flower garden outside. My dad made her a stone with her name on it. Just one of those things that suck with fish keeping. You're not going to be able to keep these fish alive forever. And they're like humans and any other animal, they're going to die. And, it's one thing, to walk in one morning, like I did with Johnny, the 14-year-old fantail, and just find them floating and, see that they had passed away. that's one thing, and that's hard. But to make the decision to put them down is and have to do it yourself is so much harder. I never want to have to do it again, even though I know that I probably will. But, Sunday was very, very difficult for me. And even now, today's Wednesday, and I still get choked up when I talk about her. But I know that I did the right thing, and that's just something that I'm going to have to live with because, she couldn't do it anymore. She couldn't fight. Away from that before I start bawling again. I took a poll on my Instagram last week and wanted to know what you guys wanted to see for the next video that I shoot. And everybody responded, and the video that was most voted for was me explaining how I name my fish and how all the fish got their names. So I'm going to start with that. Some people I know just name them like Fish 1 and Fish 2, and I'm serious. I know people that do that. I don't think I could do that. I like to name them real names because that's just how I do things. I don't know. Johnny was, when I had Johnny, he was named after a TV show character that I was absolutely obsessed with when I was like 2 and 3 years old. It was called, I think, Emergency 911, and it was about ambulance drivers, and their name was Johnny and Roy. And so his name was Johnny. That's how he got his name. When I first got Josephine, she was originally I thought was a he. So Josephine was the first goldfish that I bought after Johnny passed away. And when I got her, I didn't know that it was a female. I actually thought that she was a male. And so her name actually was Johnny the Second, is what I named her in memory of him. Well, as time went on, about a month later, I was, seeing her, hold eggs, and she was being chased by the male at the time that I had, Bernard. He was put down from swim bladder a couple months later, but that's when I realized that Johnny the Second was a female, and I don't really know how I picked Josephine. I just know I was thinking about a female version of Johnny, and Josephine just came to mind. That's how she got her name. I don't know where I thought of that, but that's just her name. So I also put some video of them in here so that you know who I'm talking about. Because I know some of you don't know all of my fish yet by name. So this is Josephine. So Josephine, I thought originally was a male, so that's how she ended up getting her name. It's just the female version of Johnny, pretty much. The second goldfish I bought was Knight, and I bought him soon after Bernard passed away. Josephine was very depressed, and she just didn't want to function without another tank mate. So I ended up going and picking Knight out, and the thought that I had in the store when I bought him, I didn't really have a name in mind. But I was driving home, and I actually went on the interstate because I bought him at PetSmart, and PetSmart is actually in the next town over from me. So I came back on the interstate, and I was behind a tractor trailer that blew a tire out and jackknifed in the road, and I was just inches of wrecking, of having a car accident because of that semi. And I made it, and everything was fine. The car was not injured whatsoever, but when I got off the interstate and was like finally, thinking correctly again after, that big adrenaline rush, I looked at Nike that was in the bag in my hand, and I'm like, man, he must be my good luck charm. And then I started thinking about it on the way home, and I was like, he's kind of like her knight in shining armor. And that's what I was thinking of. Plus, he had kind of been my little lucky charm. Um, but I ended up, Knight just stuck, and that ended up being his name. My parents and all of my family call him Big Head because he is an Aranda and he has a growth on his head. And none of my family had ever seen an Aranda before I got him, so his name for them is Big Head. How Knight got his name, and this is him. After him, I got Beauty. And even though she is no longer with us, I'm just gonna tell you, I'm still gonna talk about her because I can't not. Um, Beauty, when I went to the store, I went in PetSmart after school one day to pick up some gravel, I think, for another aquarium. And I walked in and I saw that they had just got a new shipment of fish. And I walked back there and they were getting ready to put them in the tanks, and I saw her. And I was like, man, she is beautiful. She is gorgeous. And I'd been thinking about having a black goldfish for quite some time. And I told the attendant not to put her in the tank. I was going to purchase her and take her home. And on the way home, I never even thought about naming her just because in the store, I think I already knew what I was going to name her, and that was Beauty. And because that's just her, that's how she got her name. And she was partially blind and she had swim bladder, but she was always Beauty. That's just her. But this was Beauty, and this video is in memory of her. Next, I purchased Comet and Lucy, and I purchased them from a small family-owned pet store. I knew the owner very well, and I stopped in there one day, and she had just got a new shipment of Ryukin and Arandas, and I was taking a look at them, and immediately I looked at Comet. I noticed that he was missing part of his tail, but he was orange and black, and he had gorgeous markings. And the reason that I looked at him first was because that he was zipping all around the tank. He was, out swimming any of the other fish, and I'm like, you're fast, And then I was like, he's like a little comet, and that's how he got his name. So I picked him out, and then I decided I was going to get another one to be his buddy. And the second one that caught my eye was a little white and red Ryukin. And she had like red lipstick on. And like it was like a marking around her lips. And I was like, you're so cute. And my mom made the comment like, she's got lipstick like you and like Lucille Ball from I Love Lucy. And I was like, Lucy. That's a good name for her. Lucy Lou. I like it. And so when I got her home, I decided that that was going to be her name. And it's been her name ever since. Everybody calls her Lucy. And Comet, kept his name. And he's still like a fast fish. Like, he can outswim any of my fish any day. And that's why his name's Comet. So here is Comet and Lucy. After them, I purchased another 60-gallon aquarium for the kitchen, and I needed something to help me cycle it. So I ended up getting a black moor, and my dad had been bugging me forever. He wanted a black moor. He wanted a black moor. I was like, okay, I'll get you one if you will shut up about it. He had a black moor when he was younger, and it passed away, and he always just had a thing with black moors. So I got him one, and he decided that he was gonna name it, and I was like, okay, fine. Your fish, that's fine, name it. And out of all the things that he could have named this fish, he named it Spike. So, yeah, I didn't have anything to do with that one. It was not my choice of fish name, but that was his, and that's fine. That's his name. And this is Spike. After Spike, I got my butterfly telescopes. And I got three. The first one I picked out was the Calico butterfly telescope. And when King Koi was showing me their stock, I looked at her and I was like, man, she has a gorgeous tail. That is absolutely gorgeous. And her markings were just so pretty. I ended up picking her out of the tub of calicos. And so they put her aside, and I went on picking other ones. But when I picked them out, I texted my mom and told her that I had found my butterfly telescopes and that they would be shipping to me the next day. And she said, what are you going to name them? I was like, I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. And it just came to me. I don't know where I even got it. I have no idea. I just thought of Cleo Calico. I don't even know where I got that. I don't know of anything that's named Cleo. That just ended up being her name, and it just stuck. So this is Cleo. Besides Cleo, I picked out a red and black butterfly, and my grandmother had a lot of say in that. She thought she was gorgeous, and I decided that I was going to pick her, and she would get to name her, and that is how JoJo came about. She picked the name. I do not know where she got the name. She just picked JoJo, and that's been her name. And this is JoJo, who just recovered from bacterial dropsy. And the last one is my sweet little red and white butterfly telescope. She is the runt of the pack, and even though she is growing, she's not growing like the other ones. She's kind of slow, and that's okay. And I'm not in a hurry to put a lot of weight on her. She's just a small fish, and I think that's the way she's always going to be. Mom came home that evening. I showed her the fish that I had purchased, and she picked out the red and white, and she's like, she is so pretty. And the reason I picked her was because of her tail. It was like completely symmetrical, like the markings. I had never seen that before. And it kind of reminded me of a kaleidoscope or something. It was just so pretty. And my mother is like, my mom, which would be my grandmother, named JoJo. Why can't I name this one? So I let her, and when they come in, she looked at her and she said her name is Queen Elizabeth. And I'm like, what? Why? And she said, I don't know, she just looks regal. And I'm like, I am not naming my fish Queen Elizabeth. Like, I have nothing against Queen Elizabeth or London or, England in general. I have nothing against it. But she just didn't look like a Queen Elizabeth. That just seemed like a really long name. So I didn't like it. So I was like, okay, let's make let's let's make a decision here. How would you like Queenie instead for short? She's like, Queenie for short. That's okay. I can deal with that. And I'm like, whew. I did not want to name this fish Queen Elizabeth. So her name is Queenie because of my mother. And this is her. My newest goldfish would be Malachi and Zelina. Um, I did a whole video on them with me rescuing them. Um, Malachi got his name. He was, of the two, he was in the worst health. And I wasn't really sure that he was even going to make it home with me. He was beat up pretty bad, but I had high hopes. And when I was bringing him home, I was thinking about biblical names to name him, and Malachi came to mind. In Hebrew, Malachi means my angel. And so I thought about it, and the more I looked at him, he just looked like a Malachi, and that ended up being his name. Zelina's name actually was Enzo, before I figured out that he was a female. Enzo came, she was, dark in color. She was a blue Aranda. She had some black and some silver, and she just seemed very, mysterious. And at the time, I was thinking about Enzo off the Vampire Diaries. I am a big time Vampire Diaries fan, and when it went off, I cried a long, long time. That show had been on since I was in 7th grade, and I'm almost finished college, so it's been on a long time. And he just came to mind, and I ended up naming him Enzo. Well, then I figured out that he wasn't a he, it was a she, and I started thinking about it, and I ended up renaming her Zelina. I have a thing with Once Upon a Time and the Wicked Witch. Everybody has called me Zelina since she came on the show. And I've always had a thing with the Wicked Witch, even before Once Upon a Time came along. Everybody, I'm really not mean, y'all, but, I tell people what I think, and there's no filter from the brain to the mouth, and it just comes out. And so, I've always deemed myself the Wicked Witch. So, it ended up being funny that I would name her Zelina. She just acted like it, so that ended up being her name, which is really weird. She's the only fish that I have that was actually named originally from a character. So that's kind of just an FYI and kind of interesting. But this is them. So that's pretty much how they got their name. Um, I don't really have a set like category or like any type of set thing when I go to name the fish. Um, some people, I know Jasper from Jappy's Fish Food, he likes to name his fish after villains, which is really cool. And some people ask me why I don't, name them after like characters on a show or something like that. And I don't know why I don't. I just think that they kind of, to me, I feel like they already know their name. They just have to let me know what that is. And they just, I don't know, it's the way they act, it's how they, it's how, you know, their personality is. I mean, it depends on a lot of things, but that's how they all got their name. I think out of all of them, I think Cleo is probably the most random, and Spike. My dad picked Spike out, but Cleo, for me, I don't know why I named her that. That's just her name. And um, the funny thing about those two are they're always together. They like just hit it off. Like he doesn't bother her. Like he doesn't do like, you know, really obsessive breeding or anything with her. They just like to be together. It's really cool. Um, but that's how I name them. It's nothing really special, but I just think that you have to name them something. And I don't like it when there's fish that don't have a name. That bothers me. It's like, do you name your dog? Yeah, so name your fish. They all have names. Even, you know, Flame and Mystic, my betas, they have names. The Tetras all have names, but if I went into that, I would be talking for an hour. There's 16 of them, I think, and they all have a name. I won't show you all of them, but just off the top of my head, there's one that's named Dixon, one's Princess, one's Miss Pearl, one's Fancy. I have to look at them to see which one I'm talking about. One of them's Bama, Finn, Bellamy, Raven, Oscar. They all have names, but that would be a long story if I kept this going for that long. So I won't do that. But in case you noticed, there is a new thing back here. I finally got rid of the butterfly picture. It was driving me insane. And I made something for myself. So that's all the goldfish. All of them are up there. I got the Goldfish Drive sign off Etsy. So that's super cool. I love it, love it. And Beauty is there. Beauty is right there with Johnny. And I'm not going to take her down. I thought about it. My mom asked me if I was going to, and I'm not. She was part of the clan, so she's still going to be there. But I'm happy to have that. I love like decorating and stuff, and this room was driving me a little bit crazy because a lot of people come through here, and you know, when we have friends and family over, the first thing they want to see is the fish, and they're super interested in the fish. So I wanted it to look decent. And that's one of the things that I just love. But I'll have to do a fish room update some other time because that'll take a while. Because a lot of things have happened here. And there's something else that will be happening this weekend that will be a surprise. And I'm not telling you until it gets here. So check out my Instagram for that because you'll get to see early. So hint, hint. I hope you enjoyed the video and let me know how you name your fish. I'm curious. And I'll see you next time.